Hi boys and girls. We just got done learning about the artist Claude Monet and his beautiful landscapes of water lilies in a pond. And now we're going to get ready to create our own landscape of a water lily pond using a crayon resist. So let's get started. Do you remember we talked about the different types of tools Monet used, and one was a paintbrush? Well, today we're going to use a paintbrush. We're going to use a Sharpie, glue sticks, scissors, tissue paper, oil pastels. These are going to be like our very fancy crayons, scraps of green paper, and then some liquid watercolors. Now you have to be very careful with this. You don't want it to spill because it will stain your clothes. All right, let's get started. Our first step is to place our paper horizontally, find the bottom, and as neatly as you can, write your name. Try to do it small, and your teacher's code. So if you were in Mrs. Mundy's class, it would be KM. If you were in Mrs. Carrera's class, it would be KC. So you figure that out. Then we are going to use our oil pastels first. Now I have white, green, blue, and a light blue. And what I want to do with my oil pastels is start on one side of the paper and go all the way across to the other using different types of lines. So maybe you want to do wavy lines, or you could do zigzag lines. You could even try to do some of these lines with your finger right now. Maybe you want to do a dotted line. It's up to you. So after you're done practicing what kind of line you want to do, choose one oil pastel. I want you to start at the top left corner right here and press hard to draw your line all the way to the other side. You could even do the swirly line. This kind of shows the movement of the water in the pond. You take your time, make sure you're pressing hard. If you don't press hard, it's not going to show up. You can switch colors and do some dotted lines. Look here, I've got white oil pastel. Now if I go ahead and do my line, it's really hard to see. But guess what? When we paint watercolor paint over it, it will show up. So don't forget to try to use that white pastel. We'll just do maybe one more. Alright, do you see how I filled my page with different kinds of lines? If you want to do all the same line, that's fine too. From top to bottom I have all different kinds of lines with different colors of oil pastels because variety is important when it comes to being an artist. You want things to be different and have a bunch of different choices and colors. Alright, so our next step is to take our paintbrush. We're going to hold it like this. We are going to dip it in our cup and press the bristles against the side of the cup. Now my paintbrush isn't dripping all over the place. I'm going to come to the top left and I'm going to brush across. Now if you notice, my brush ran out of watercolor paint, so I can go get some more, dip and press, and pick up where I left. You can go all the way to the other side. I want you to notice that I'm doing gentle brush strokes back and forth. You don't want to scrub your painting like this because look what happens to your bristles. You're going to ruin your brush doing that. You know what else I'm not doing? is this, tapping my brush, because when I do that, my cup could fall over and it will splatter watercolor paint onto my friend's artwork, and I don't want that to happen. So just gently back and forth, pressing your bristles against the inside of your cup. And I'm working down my painting. If you see that you have some puddles of paint, you can just take your brush and keep moving it around your paper. You don't want to have big puddles of paint because it will take a long time to dry, and our lily pads are going to have a hard time sticking to the paper. Do you see how I've gone all the way to the edges? We don't want our white paper showing unless we have oil pastel line on them. When you're done painting, double check your work. Do you have your paint going all the way to the edges? Are there any puddles of paint left? If there are, you can move it around a little bit. And when you're all done, I want you to put your brush down and we'll move our paint out of the way. We don't want that to get in the way of anything. All right, our next step is to get our scissors ready and our green paper. This is going to be for our lily pads. So I have a piece of paper here. We're going to try to create at least 3 lily pads. Now, a lily pad is like an ellipse or an oval shape, but I have a rectangular piece of paper. So an easy way to fix this is to hold your paper with your hand that you don't cut with, and you're going to open your scissors up and you're just going to trim the corners of your rectangle off. There we go. So now I have an ellipse and I want to get this opening here for the lily pads. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to go in at an angle, snip, snip. Look, one perfect lily pad. Find a good spot for that one. Now I can get another square or rectangle and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm cutting off the 4 corners with a curved line. Curved line. Curved line. Next step, we got to cut our little V out, angle, cut, cut. There's another lily pad. Now I have to decide, do I want 2 overlapping ones? That would look nice. Or I could move this one up here. You have to play around with it and see where you like it. I think I'm going to try another one of these. I want to make a small one. So what I could do for this is cut my paper in half. Now I can have a nice tiny lily pad. And I'll cut my curved lines, just like that. And don't forget to snip your little V out. Alright, I have 3 lily pads. That's all I'm going to do, but feel free, you can do 4, you can do 5, and arrange them in a neat little way that you like. Alright, the next step is to glue our lily pads onto our water. Now, I know a lot of you like to use glue sticks, and I pulled these out, but guess what? I remembered these glue sticks are not going to hold on a little bit of a damp paper. So what we're going to do is use liquid glue, and I just want you to take your finger, dip it into your wet glue, and put a little bit of glue on the back of your lily pad, and then press it down. I want you to do the same for the other lily pads. So we're just using our fingers to glue. A lot of you are going to say, oh, I got glue on my fingers. But there's a way to get it off. Move that over a little bit. If you have a little bit of glue, you can just wipe it off like that, and if there's still some remaining, I just rub it in the middle of my palm and it comes off. Alright, my lily pads are almost done. They just need one more thing. They need the flower. So I'm going to take a piece of tissue paper and I'm just going to crumple it up a little bit. You can crumple it up into a little ball if you want, or you can leave some of the edges fluffy. We're going to get some more glue, put a little glue on the back, decide where you want your flower. And this gives it a little three-dimensional effect. Doesn't that look great? Find another piece of tissue paper. Let's see what it looks like if I ball it up really, really tight. Put a little more glue on there. So you can see this one looks a little smaller if you ball it up tighter and not as fluffy. You need to ball it up a little bit. You don't want it going this big because then we won't be able to see any of our lily pads. So make sure it's small enough. And we'll put a little bit more glue on there. There. Now I have finished my watercolor landscape of my water lily pond. I have my name on it. I have different types of lines that I've drawn with oil pastels. Then I very carefully painted my liquid watercolors on, and I collaged my lily pads. When you go home today, here's a little booklet that you can take about the artist we learned about, Claude Monet, and you can read it with your parents or your brother or sister, and there's some little spots where you can do some activities or talk about some more paintings that he made. Great job, guys.